I am excited to share this topic with you today. We are going to be looking at the topic of the lymphatic system. And this is something that I really enjoy because I went to school to learn about the lymphatic system and how it can be a blessing to others. And so I want to teach you today how we can understand the importance of the lymphatic system and keep it healthy or not make it healthy. So we're going to have to go quickly, so we have some slides to help with that. Okay, so first of all, we're going to be looking at what is in the lymphatic system, just to give us an idea of this. In the lymphatic system, there's the lymphatic fluid, the lymph channels, and the lymph nodes. So that's pretty simple. Those three things. You can see here the lymphatic system. There's a few more articles that are not in the lymph system, but the green is the lymph system. All right, then next we have what is the function of the lymphatic system. Now this is very important to understand. The function of the lymphatic system, or the part that it plays in our body, is number one, it bathes every cell of the body. Number two, it provides nutrition, oxygen, and warmth to every cell. Now this is important to remember as we continue going on. It transports toxins and waste back to the heart, and it provides a passageway for the immune system into places that it could not go if it was only in the cardiovascular system. Now in the cardiovascular system, everything, all the blood has blood vessels, and the blood has to stay inside the blood vessels. If the blood wasn't inside the blood vessels, we could touch our skin and it would just be oozing blood. I mean, it would not be what we see right now today. But the lymph system, it is allowed to bathe every cell and then go back into channels, back into the heart. Okay, so we're going to look at the birthplace of the lymph system. Right here we see on the left, we see the heart and the cardiovascular system with the veins and the arteries. And this, in the very smallest portion of this system, of the cardiovascular system, in the capillaries, which is the really, really tiny transition between the arteries and the veins. The arteries is what carries oxygenated blood from the heart, and the veins is what carries non-oxygenated blood towards the heart. And so in that little tiny space of the capillaries, which is the transition between oxygenated to non-oxygenated, is the capillaries. And right in there, the capillaries are so tiny that one blood cell cannot even fit through, one blood vessel can't even fit through all by itself. It has to fold in half, and in the folding in half, it has to release its oxygen, its warmth, and its nutrition into the plasma, which it's been floating in. That plasma, then there is some of the plasma that goes out through the capillary walls, and that is where the lymph system is born. So all that plasma is now just bathing the cells, and we're going to look at what that looks like. Right here, this is a picture. This is actually water on a spider web, but this is what it looks like in our bodies. It's very difficult to get the pictures inside, but I've seen actual videos of the lymph and what it looks like. And this is pretty much what it looks like. The water droplets are going over every tissue and every cell of our body, bathing them, and then providing the oxygen, the warmth, and the nutrition that every cell needs. And the cells are also able to dump their waste into that lymph, and it goes back into the heart. So all the processes of nutrition and repair, of tissue nutrition and repair, are dependent on the lymph system. Now, if we're having a really good diet, we're going to illustrate this by a gas tank. We can fill our gas tank with gas, but if for some reason that gas tank isn't hooked up to the engine, there's absolutely no good for us to put gas in our gas tank. And that's what happens even if we're eating a really good nutrition and we're filling our body with good things. If our lymph system is not working correctly, then it actually creates some problems. So we're going to want to look at why this is. We're going to want to make sure that our lymph system, our tubes from our gas tank to our engine, are working well. So if we can see here, the water droplets on this immersed lemon. And just think of it this way. When we put lemon into water, what happens? Soon the water begins to retain the flavor of the lemon. That's because there is a chemical change that is taking place. The water is going into the lemon, and the nutrition and the flavor is going into the water. And that's what happens with our lymph system, is it's having that change and that exchange between the cells. Also, the white blood cells are able to flow, and they're able to get to every cell of the body through the lymph system. So this is a very important system for us to have, because with the cardiovascular system, it would not have as free access to every cell of the body. All right, so basically our lymph system can be the difference between us being having malnutrition, like this poor little African boy, and having a very sick constitution. Because if our body is not able to dump out the toxins and get more nutrition, it becomes a very sick system. So we really want to make sure and keep this healthy. Now this is dependent on what kind of things we're putting into our body, as well as how that is being able to be delivered. So there's a combination here. We need to make sure that we're eating good, healthy food, as well as keeping our lymph system operating and functioning well. Now the cardiovascular system has a big pump, and that pump is the heart. And actually about 60 times a minute, so a lot of time, it is pumping the blood. And that is so powerful that it is able to push the blood all through our bodies and to come back to the heart. And in that it's purified. It's a very incredible system that the Lord made. But our lymph system actually doesn't have a heart. The only two ways that the fluid in our lymph system can actually get back to the heart, where then it can be recirculated, is through two methods. Number one, the moving of our muscles, which is exercise, which is super important for us. Exercise, when we are moving our limbs and our muscles, it actually is pushing the lymph back towards the heart. And then also, there's this little thing called the diaphragm. Now, the diaphragm is just under the lungs, and the heart there you can see, and just above our stomach. And this right here is called the vacuum, or the heart. It's also typically known as the heart of the lymph system. And instead of pumping, it pulls. So I would like you to breathe deeply with me. So fill our lungs. Hold it for just a minute, and now let's breathe out. That exchange of when the air is rushing out, that is like a vacuum that is pulling the lymph through our system back towards the heart. Exercise and deep breathing are what keeps our lymph moving. And if our lymph isn't moving, then that means that the nutrition, the oxygen and warmth is not getting to every cell of our body, which breeds disease. Okay, so we're going to look at some very quick things. As we do not have much time, there's actually, we could go over all of these in more depth, but today we're just going to look at these briefly. Things that affect the lymph system. On the left-hand side are things that negatively affect, and on the right-hand side are things that we can do to counteract that or to keep it healthy. Dehydration is very, very bad for the lymph system, because it is mostly water is what is making it. And water in that liquid is the passageway that allows the nutrition and the oxygen to get to every cell of the body. So if we're dehydrated, our lymph system isn't working, and that means our cells are not getting the nutrition and the waste carried away from it that it needs. Hydration, on the other hand, is extremely important for keeping a healthy lymphatic system. So we need to make sure that we're drinking plenty of good, fresh, pure water. You can see under dehydration it says sugary carbonated drinks. Did you know that it takes 10 cups of water for your body, 10 extra cups of water for your body to recover from 1 cup of carbonated sugary drinks? That is intense. If you think about it, most of you probably aren't even drinking 10 cups of water each day, and to think that you need an additional 10 cups just to overcome 1 cup of a sugary carbonated soda, that's really intense. So we want to make sure that instead of drinking those sugary things, we do something better and we give our body what it needs through water. Just imagine with me washing your dishes in soda. They would be super sticky. That's what happens inside of our bodies when we try to wash our bodies with soda. Okay, so lack of exercise. If it's not moving, if we're not moving our bodies, then the lymph can't move, so it becomes stale and putrid and really sickly. Plenty of exercise, on the other hand, is just what we need to keep it healthy. Shallow breathing can actually keep our lymph from being pulled up and all that waste to be dumped out and the new nutrition to come in. So shallow breathing is very harmful to our lymph system. On the other hand, proper deep breathing is extremely beneficial. And deep breathing of fresh, pure air is the best. So getting outside and getting some exercise in the trees where there's lots of green foliage so that you're able to get the true oxygen and not just carbon dioxide, because the trees actually convert the carbon dioxide back to oxygen. So try to walk in the fresh air where there's lots of green, lush foliage as much as possible. Poor nutrition, if we are putting poor nutrition in our bodies, then our body will not have nutrition to deliver to the cells. So nutrition is very important for our lymphatic system. Also poisons and toxins, which I wish we could talk about more. You'll just have to think and pray about poisons and toxins, but they're all over. And one of them that I talked about that I wish I had the slides here is even vinegar. Vinegar is a poison and a toxin to our body that we want to make sure to avoid. Okay, and then detoxifying our bodies through drinking water in the proper ways. There's also herbs that are detoxifying. We need that to be able to have a healthy lymphatic system because the toxins are being dumped constantly into our lymph and we need to clean those up. There's also cheese, which actually cheese makes our lymph system so it's sticky and it can't move and it doesn't flow freely like water in a stream. And so that actually clogs it and keeps it from flowing freely, so then our cells are not getting the nutrition and oxygen they need, and it's also not allowing the waste to leave, so they become diseased and it causes a real problem. Also, greasy foods will do the same thing. It will keep them from moving freely through our bodies. On the other hand, proper rest is super important because when we allow our bodies to rest, the lymph system, when we are sleeping, our lungs breathe deeply, all on their own. And so when we're having the proper rest, it is actually moving our lymph through our system better than just when we're up, if we're not breathing correctly. Temperance is so important, making sure that we're not having that which is harmful and taking in that which is good. Also, trust in God. If we are stressed out and there's free radicals running in our blood, then it's also going to be going in our lymph system and causing a lot of damage. So we do not want that to happen. We need to have more trust in God. And then sunshine, that vitamin D, and it's going to help all of our functions go very closely, work better together and more closely in health. Now these are so simple, but it's so important because we can have a more vibrant life. Now there's also issues because in our spiritual life, how often do we have a clogged lymph system where the nutrition of God's word is not coming into our life and being applied to where it needs to go? So we need to make sure that we're getting enough water. We're spending enough time in the word. We're getting enough exercise. We're practicing the faith that we have heard in the online church and Sabbath school and morning and evening worships. We need to make sure that we're getting enough exercise. Also that we're breathing deeply. That is our prayer life. Because if we're lacking any of these things, then our spiritual life is not going to be vibrant and healthy. And so I would encourage you, these are simple, but they're so important because God wants us to be healthy. He desires our soul to prosper and also our health to prosper.